Let's speak to Anne now. Anne is a mum of 3. Morning, Anne.
Morning, Lucy.
Morning. What are you hearing coming out of school from yours?
Yeah, well, my daughters are now at university and just started work, so it's just my wee boy that's in school. I live in Govan, and I have to say the primary school my wee boy's in, P7 at, is wonderful, and I have no concerns that there would ever be any behaviour like that. What I do have is complete compassion for the schools. 800 teachers to be reporting this level of violence is absolutely horrendous. But what I also feel is that children who are perpetrators of crime are also most likely to also be victims of crime. And I think that what's happened, I feel, is that the government, perhaps society, is making this individual teachers' problems or individual schools' problem, and it's actually a societal issue. We look at the length of the CAMHS wait list. It's I think it's about 18 months, 2 years now. Maybe if we invested more in the CAMHS wait list, these children could be accessing the help that they perhaps need. And I think that we're letting down both our children and our educators. And in that last text that you read out there, Lucy, you talked about a lack of parenting ability. Now, I agree, having been a parent for over 22 years, I agree that it is hard being a parent. But what I want to say is, if we chip kids out of school, if we expel these kids from school, we know they're going to be the next set of parents. Have we given them any way to be able to parent better? And therefore, it's about, as a society, I really think this has to go back to macro. We're looking at it in a very micro level. It has to go back to macro. What are we doing to ensure that our families know how to flourish, that they can afford, that they're not living in absolutely awful poverty, that they can afford to be feeding their children, putting their children in clean clothes, coming out of a warm house. You think if you haven't eaten all weekend, if you're a child who hasn't eaten all weekend, who's maybe been assaulted a few times by either parents or other kids, and you go into school this morning, do you think you're going to show up as best you possibly can? So I really have a lot of compassion for the children as well, even the ones that are perpetrating this violence.
Yeah, what do you do then, I wonder, Anne, if you are a teacher in this situation? And we know, don't we, that many of them are just, they're coming to the end of their rope here because, as I read out messages from them already this morning, many of them feel like they're doing everything they can, but they're limited in what they can do here. And then also they are putting themselves at risk in some scenarios.
Maybe they march on Holyrood, maybe they go on strike, maybe they make demands of the Scottish Government to get their finger out and do more about supporting families, because families need support. That is clearly what all this violence is telling us, that families do not have enough support to be able to have their children who can show up in their school and show up in their lives and take on the learning that they've got available to them. So I've got complete compassion. I have friends who are teachers. I have complete compassion for teachers. It's not going to be fixed on a radio phone-in or a teacher by teacher, pupil by pupil, or school by school. So maybe what the teachers have to do is go on strike. Maybe they need to be marching on Holyrood, because I don't think it can be solved if it is not macro, if it is not coming from a national guidance on how do we solve this. We need to invest more money in early years and more money in supporting families that need support, because we're just leaving them to it. We're just leaving them to it, and we'll maybe expel their children. Do you think that makes their house any better? I can guarantee you it doesn't. They then become children who are escaping from home as soon as they're old enough to do it, who can, if they don't understand money and tenancy and things like that, they're ending up living on the streets, and it's a whole other level of problems we've got. They then have children who do the same thing. It's going to just keep getting worse. So it's not about individual teachers addressing this. It's about individual teachers marching on Holyrood.
And thank you. 08085 92 95 00.